She is an artist. She is a singer. She's an author. The title of the book is Angels, of course, a collection of illustrated visits and stories that go with these paintings she's done. But most importantly, Win Tuck-Gleason claims she sees angels with frequency. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here.
And we met recently at a Bible study, and we hit it right off talking. And then I found out that you have written this book, Angels, of course. Now, why the title Angels, comma, of course?
Because I noticed things that were happening, and then I analyzed them, and I say, well, angels, of course, had to be.
Well, it's pretty amazing. I read many of the stories in your book already, where you have interventions with angels. Sometimes when you need encouragement. Now, at what age did you begin to see angels?
Oh, I think I was around 3 or 4 at the most.
Now,
Yes.
you were brought up in a very severe Dutch reform, which means they're sort of legalistic, right?
Yes.
And so yet the Lord chose you at a very early age, at 3.
I know.
And
It's been a mystery. I've never known and understood how this possibly could have happened, because I don't know anyone else in my life that has ever seen angels. I know they suspect they're around, and they think sometimes people act like angels, but they've never seen them, and I've seen them in detail.
now, why do you think? I've had some amazing things happen to me too that people would question. I don't talk about everything because the Bible says, "Cast ye not your pearls before swine, lest they trample them underfoot." And I'm a big mouth, and I like attention. I need love, want love. I want to give love. I want to encourage others. So I tell stories. I'm not sure sometimes, if Jesus ever communicates. And by the way, I'm saying this to you, Jesus, Lord. I said, maybe he doesn't want me to share these things because maybe it's supposed to be sacred between him and myself. But at the same time, if you're given something, you want to give it away to others and encourage them. Sometimes it can sound like you're boasting. For instance, I lost my dad at an early age. My mother was an alcoholic. I know what it's like to be very wealthy. I also know what it's like to live in the ghetto, as I did as a struggling songwriter as an adult. And so when I tell people that I've met this famous person or that famous person, I realize I probably am dropping names, but I don't mean to drop names. I'm saying, isn't this great that a nobody like me, but they don't know you think you're a nobody. They just see the other side of it. And then there's the element of people being jealous. So here, I'm sure some people are very happy. I'm happy for you that you see angels.
Thank you.
And I'm not jealous. I would like to see an angel. I've had my encounters with angels. And but I love anyway. I want to tell you this story. I'm in Greece, and I get massage wherever I go. So I'm staying at the Hotel Breton, and I'm getting a massage by Nicholas. Nicholas is a young married man with a little baby girl, and I'm always talking about Jesus. You talk about that which you love, okay? And Jesus is the best thing that ever happened to me, and I guess next to birth, and then the second birth with him. But Nicholas said he and his friend were driving along in the car, and something fell between them. Now, I did this when I was young. I took a car out when I was 14 by permission by my friend's father. And I was tall for my age, so I looked older than I was. And I'm driving. Well, I had a piece of incense burning in the car. This is back in 1960s. The incense fell on the floor. What did I do as a dumb kid? I leaned down to find the incense. What did I do? I hit an entire garage and knocked it down. Not a brick, but what do you call the big concrete blocks? So anyway, Nicholas is driving along, he says, and something fell to the floor. So he leans down to try to find it. All of a sudden, he feels this giant hand take his chin and lift him back up so he can look out the front window of the car.
Wow.
And he and his friend both claimed they saw 2 big, giant white angels. And they were able to avert or avoid, whatever the right word would be, the truck that was oncoming, and their lives were spared.
Right. They come in different sizes. I've seen them tiny little, like little babies, and I've seen them about 4 feet high. And they have regular height, and then they have the big 12-footers.
Now, some people would think you were psychotic seeing
Well,
these
that's
things,
why
you
I
know.
don't talk about it very much. You see, I've had to build up a lot of faith to allow myself to speak about it, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
because anybody who knows they're going to get ridiculed is going to talk about that subject very
Yeah,
much.
and sometimes I wonder if I should be giving away, you know, my stories too, because you know,
Yeah. Well, a lot of times I couldn't tell people what was going on. It was like I wasn't given permission. And then all of a sudden you can release the information.
well, I'm glad you told me. You and I met at a Bible study recently
Yeah.
at Coco Rio, which is a store that's owned by missionaries. It's a cafe, coffee cafe, and hopefully some of the profits there go to help them continue their missionaries. They've been missionaries for years and years. And you happen to have a copy of your book, Angels, of course. I've read a lot of stories in your book. Is this book available to the public or
Yes, it's you can buy it online.
Amazon?
Amazon, yes.
Angels, comma, of course.
Right. And my name is Win Tuck-Gleason.
Yeah, Win Tuck, Tuck, dash, or
Gleason.
hyphen,
Right.
Gleason. Why the hyphen? Why do they put that in?
Well,
Because you had, as your birth name was Tuck then.
No, I have another name. I've had a lot of names.
So why the Tuck?
Well, because a lot of people know me as
Win
Win
Tuck.
Tuck.
Win Tuck.
Win Tuck. And so when I got married, I didn't want to lose my identity, so I started.
Well, if I was your manager, I would go back down to just Win Tuck. It's so easy to remember. And Win is such an unusual name. But you don't spend it Wynn like a lot of people do. You spend it Win.
Right. It's short for Winifred.
Winifred, yes. And I told you that I had a stepfather,
Uh-huh.
Everett Winifred McClendon. Yes, he's no longer on the earth, but
Yeah.
Winifred. So, well, Win, it's great to hear. Let's tell us a short story of that people would enjoy hearing about an angelic visitation
Okay.
or vision. You know,
All right. Well, I saw them when I was little. They were regular
3.
looking. Yeah. And I saw them when I was, I don't know, grade 1, grade 2. And then I didn't see them for quite a long time until I met my little companions. And I'm not the first people who has seen these little guys. I heard about them from my mother because they were in the hospital when she was in having a heart bypass. And a friend visited her, and they were laughing, very Christian friend. And my mom was, very strong Christian. And so here she's recovering. She's not supposed to laugh, and they're having hysterics laughing about something. And they both looked out into the hall, and these little angels were laughing and laughing out in the hall. They both saw them. And so I didn't hear about this for years. And then I was visiting up in Canada, and I was moving back to Texas, and I had a U-Haul trailer. This was in the winter with icy roads.
yeah.
I had a U-Haul trailer, double axle, full of furniture. And I was heading back to Texas. And so she says, "Oh, it's okay. Everything's going to be all right. The little angels are around your vehicle." It was parked down on the street, and we were about 20 stories up in a building. She said, "Okay, fine." So my sister and I looked at each other and said, "Okay, right." So
This lady's nutso.
Yeah. So we didn't pay any attention. And the next morning, she does the same thing. She looks out and she says, "Oh, they're still there." I said, "Okay, Mom." And then we just, left. And I was driving. I'd gone through Detroit. It was sleet. It was dark. I had stopped, had some coffee. By this time, it was dark at night. And I wasn't tired. I was just sailing along on the way to Indianapolis. And I looked and I thought, what's that funny light out there, right directly just in front of the headlight? I looked at it. Then I looked out, happened to glance out the side window, and I saw this long thing. It looked like it was about 3 or 4 feet long, and it was flying beside the car. And I looked and there was another one on my side of the car. There was one on the hood of the car riding the casing of the light, the big headlight,
Mm-hmm.
like it was riding a horse, and he was his arm up, waving his arm and jumping around on the front of the car. I looked in the rearview mirror, and I could see two sitting on top of the U-Haul trailer, sitting up there. I thought, what? What's going on? And then I remember my mom saying, she says her little angels were around the car. So I said, I think they're my mom's angels. So I kept driving, and I drove all the way to Indianapolis that way, looking at one and the other, and the one up above. I thought, this is completely bizarre.
But you said you saw them when you were 3.
The different kind of angels that I saw when I was 3, I thought were beautiful cascading gauzy window coverings, curtains. And I was in a little work cabin that my parents had, big farms, and it was just something for
Up in
someone
Canada?
Yeah, up in Canada, to just go in, and I don't know what they did. Anyway, the music was so beautiful, and I thought, wow.
You could hear otherworldly music?
I heard this unbelievably gorgeous music, and these curtains swaying, and the light was so nice.
But,
And
even Christians, a lot of them would say, this demonic activity, they ought to hush up and be careful, because I've seen things. I've actually been touched by an angel physically.
I have too.
Yeah, and also heard the audible voice of the Lord, and I think one of his angels once. But only I know that. Like with you, only you know it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Lord had given me a complete dream of 911 before it happened, 48 hours before it happened. Now, my only brother, would drown on 911. Not in New York City, but he would, living on his boat, and it would terrify him so much that he drank. He must have fallen into the water and drowned that day.
Oh, how terrible.
I wasn't able to
Sorry.
save his life. I wasn't able to save the life of anybody. The only thing I can think of is, why was I given this dream? I mean, I was running from the soot in the dream. There'd never been anything like that before, so I thought it was fallout from an atomic bomb. I was running down the street of New York City, and I woke up. My head was just soaking wet.
Oh, how terrible.
Yeah. My wife said, go back to sleep. It's only a dream. I said, no. I'm in the fear of the life of my president. Something very bad is about to happen. There's more to the story, too. I had in the vision, a dream in the night was also a young Osama bin Laden. So I could get into the whole details. And there he had short hair and had a little mustache. And I wouldn't know that was him until 6 months afterwards. So I saw, a picture of him when he was younger. So that's the guy I saw in the dream. But anyway, and so we see things.
Mm-hmm.
We experience things. Now, you always believed in Jesus.
Always believed in Jesus.
But was there a point? Because there's an age of accountability. I always ask people. Like, for instance, maybe I knew the Lord when I was young. I doubt it, because nobody ever told me about Jesus. I didn't even know anything about resurrection. I knew nothing. I didn't even know what Easter was. I thought it was about Easter baskets. So I have this epiphany experience later on. But there's also an age of what do they call age of responsibility? In other words, that's why the Jews have bat mitzvahs for the women and bar mitzvahs for the boys, because now at the point up to that point they're covered by the parents, I guess, and then after that, then they come to the age of responsibility. So was there a point where you as a little girl, you were brought up Dutch reform, very strict, very strict, and then later on in life, was there a point where, have you ever encountered Jesus? Like he said, make sure you are born from above.
I was in my 30s.
Tell me what happened.
I didn't have a
please.
personal relationship with Jesus before that.
Oh, so you believed in Jesus?
I
so
believed him,
he
but
would have
I
been your
didn't know-
Lord.
He was
He would
my
have been
Lord.
your Savior. I mean,
Yeah.
he would have been your Savior,
But
maybe not your Lord yet.
I didn't know him at all.
So you're going to tell me about the Holy Spirit now, aren't you? I bet you.
No, I'm not. You asked me how I became
Yes.
a Christian.
I want to know.
All right. Have you ever heard of the Bill Bright campaign?
I heard of Bill Bright. He was he ran a
I found it.
a school,
the
right?
I Found It campaign. I think.
Aha.
Youth-
Bill Bright, famous name in Christianity.
and they had campaigns and conventions going on all
Yeah.
around North America and
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
And my mom was in charge of the committee in our church. And so she said, "You have to go to this because I'm the president of the committee." And she bullied me into going. I didn't want to go, and I couldn't figure out how to get out of it. So I went. I found it.
What happened?
I found it. You had to repeat this prayer. I said, "Oh, okay." So I repeated the prayer. And
What
I
did the
thought-
prayer say?
It was a sinner's prayer.
Like, I believe you died on the cross,
Yeah.
and my sins rose from the dead.
Yeah, that one. And I thought, okay. And my attitude changed. My attitude changed.
What happened?
Completely. Well, I broke up my relationship with that I've been having with a person for a while. I figured this was not a good thing for me to be doing.
Yeah.
And I started going to church, and I actually ended up working on a Christian radio as a volunteer, a Christian television show called the Huntley Street.
Come on. You worked on 100
I was a
Huntley
prayer
Street?
partner on Huntley Street and saw
Oh, my
miracles
word,
like
you're
you would
kidding me.
not believe the miracles.
Oh, my word.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
And then I got married, changed my life, got married, moved to the States.
okay, now I want to hear about Huntley Street, though. There's a couple of miracles that stand out in your mind.
The first one, was you have to pray for the people. You know, I said, okay, fine. And so, very first phone call, and this woman says, "I can't hear," and there was a crackling on the line. I said, "Just take it easy. Just put the phone up. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?" "Yes, I can hear you. I can hear." I said, "Okay, great. What do you want to pray for?" She says, "I'm deaf."
And so what happened?
So she could hear what I was saying, so she was no longer hard of hearing.
And she got healed.
She
and
got
she said
healed.
that.
Yeah.
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 Do you ever hear of Ernie Hollins?
No.
Oh, I bet you have.
Yeah.
Ernie Hollins used to go on Huntley Street a lot. I met him.
Mm-hmm.
He lived in a cardboard box at 15.
Oh.
He robbed banks in Canada. He robbed trains in Canada.
Mm.
He goes to prison. After 12 years, he gets out. He didn't feel comfortable in the real world. He robbed a bank. They arrested him. He says, "Oh, good boys, I'm going back home," because he was institutionalized. This man starts to visit him, telling him about Jesus. "I want nothing to do with Jesus." Anyway, the man's visiting for months and months and months. Finally, I don't know what happened exactly. He's listening to Christian music, and I don't know what happened. But anyway, he says Jesus walked into his cell and said, "Ernie, I'm wiping the slate clean."
Wow.
And he said, "Just like you're standing here, Jesus stood in front of me." And he said, "I'm going to wipe the slate clean." A short time later, they called up to him and said, "Prisoner A65742, Ernie Hollins, you're out of here." "I can't be. I've got 2 more years." "Nope, you're out of here." So they let him out. And that man was waiting in the parking lot with his family, all his children and his wife. And they took him to their store. And he ran the cash register for their hunting store, and then which is something to have faith.
Yes.
But then the press got a hold of the fact that Ernie Hollins had been released prematurely. And they said, "He belongs in jail. He belongs." So they went to the computers and they looked it up. Ernie Hollins, blank. Ernie Hollins, blank. Ernie Hollins, blank. Jesus said, "I'm wiping the slate clean." So later on, he got out of course, he was out of prison. He prayed to have a family because he was older. And this lady was watching him on Huntley Street. And the kids were at home. And they said, "Oh, that could be our new daddy," because the daddy had been killed in a car accident, the pastor. "Oh, that could be our new daddy." And the mother says, "The Lord will show us who's going to be your next daddy." Well, sure enough, they end up going to a convention. She meets Ernie Holland. They end up walking on the beach together one night. They get married. They had a little baby girl plus the other 4 or 5 children. And it's quite a story.
Wow.
What God can do. He's on the other side now with the Lord.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Ernie, can you hear me? I got more friends on the other side now than I do here. How about you?
Yeah, I got a few. Yeah.
Are you afraid of dying?
No, I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to miss my children and my family. You know.
How many children do you have?
I have one, but I have, through my marriages, I have a large family, large extended family.
See, and that, you know what? You know. I mean, you already know. But it takes, I think men wake up later in life. And I realize you can have all the money in China, but if you haven't got family. Now, there is one thing. It does say the Lord puts the solitary into families, and that is the community of the church. I think that's a very important community. It's not the same as family, but it actually should be. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, I think you can count on other Christian people more than you can.
I would hope so. You know.
Yeah.
So tell us another story when you encountered an angel.
Okay. I'm trying to find something that.
By the way, while you're thinking about it, the title of the book is Angels, of course, a collection of illustrated visits with Win Tuck-Gleason. Win Tuck-Gleason. Why the name though? Angels, of course. Excuse me.
Well, Mom and I were sitting in Delray Beach when she was visiting me. She was older, and I was living down there. This is in the 80s. And we were reminiscing about the good old times, you know how you do, and we were arguing back and forth about things. And I mentioned, that was really
You were arguing,
nice.
is that what you said?
Yeah.
Good visit with Mom. Okay.
I says, that was really nice, when you used to take me to that cabin when you went to look at the carrots, and you'd put me in that cabin and the beautiful music, and it was such a wonderful place to be in. She looked at me and she said, what? She says, that was a plain work cabin. There was no curtains. There was no music. There was no nothing. There was a cot. That was it. And I said, oh, that's not right. I said, I explained this cascading, glorious, tinkling music and the breeze blowing through the gauzy curtains. And so we were talking about that, and I said, oh, angels, of course. And that was the start of the book.
It is written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, neither has entered the heart of man, things which God has prepared for those who love him. Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, neither has entered the heart of man, the things which God has prepared. We have no idea. Some of the things that have happened to me, if I were to share them, they say, yeah, you're nuts. And you know what? I would have thought I was nuts.
Oh, I know.
It's
totally
crazy.
Agree. I agree.
But I do still fear death because I go, and even though I've had these encounters, I've actually tasted and felt and had a visitation of God's love. It was so overwhelming that all I wanted to do was put on a white robe and go and hug people. But I knew the strength of this visitation kept on. I would not eat. I just knew I wouldn't eat. So I said, this can't continue with me stay on this earth. And,
Yeah. Well, I've had some close encounters with care from Christ.
Care, C-A-R-E, care. Like what?
Okay, I had a stent put in my heart just this past March.
Yeah.
I'm lying there. They're putting the stent in. And I said, it's up to you. You want to take me? Okay. If this is successful, okay. Whatever is okay. And I felt so calm. I was smiling, joking and laughing with the nurses, and just lying there. Couldn't have cared less,
This is before they induced you with any drugs. This is just his
they
presence.
didn't. I know, because I could actually was wide awake, and I felt this and said, "I'm fine. I'm just whatever is going to happen is perfectly fine."
Is it okay?
He took care of me.
He took care of you.
Took care of my stress, everything.
Listen, so we're sharing stories. I have a similar one.
Okay.
I was having a hard time breathing for months. I wouldn't tell anybody. So, but my cardiologist knew things need to be checked. So he made an appointment up in Melbourne, Florida, for me to go, and they did what they did with you. They went into my heart. Well, anyway, here's what happened. So I was ignoring it, and I went to I go to all kinds of churches. I even go to Catholic once in a while. And so I happened to be driving by one day and thought, oh, it's a noon, maybe there's a noon mass there. And then, the people do their praying and stuff, I don't personally believe in praying to saints, but I don't think you're going to not get into heaven for that technicality. Obviously, there are Catholics that know Jesus, and there are Catholics that just go to church and they don't know. But that's true in everything. So anyway, and every church. So anyway, the mass ended, and these ladies recognized me because I'm known in the community where I've been on the radio for 29 years. And they said, "Hey, Rhett Palmer, why don't you come forward with us? The priest is going to come with the healing oil." So I figured, well, why not? So we all go forward, the few that are remaining, and I get down on my knees, and I'm deluded. I mean, I don't even remember myself having the problem with the breathing, because, And so I got on my knees and I started to pray for the people to my left and to my right in earnest.
Mm-hmm.
The moment I prayed with sincerity for the others,
Mm-hmm.
he touched me and said, "Rhett, what about you?" "Oh, yeah, my breathing and stuff." The phone rings, which I believe was that afternoon, was the doctor saying, "I got you in. We've been waiting for a while. We got you in." Well, why do I want to go up there? Well, for peace of mind. So come that Tuesday, they had me booked. I got up, and I think you'll know this. I think others will relate to this. The clouds were whiter than white. The sky was bluer than blue.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that morning, and a peace was with me.
Mm-hmm.
I get up there, they get into my heart. And the Indian doctor who was doing says, "Mr. Palmer, I want to tell you, you do not need a stent. You don't even need medication. Your heart is in perfect shape." So I believe when I prayed for the others, I got a miracle.
I think so too. I think so too. And
Just like you said, you felt that peace, that same thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you have to, when you get it, you have to recognize. It's good if you can recognize it, because then you can keep it going.
So tell us another story, an encounter you've had with. It doesn't necessarily have to be an angel, but somewhere where the Lord has intervened, beyond a shadow of a doubt, where He's intervened for you or someone that you love. Do you believe in prayer?
Yes, but there's different ways of praying. There's superficial kind of prayers. I'm talking about a real prayer.
Okay, the superficial prayer would be what?
Like
the Lord help me find a parking spot.
Yeah. Oh no, that works too. By the way, that has helped me. Ask the angels to find you a parking spot. There it is. Oh no. I just, if someone just says a prayer for any reason, just to be social, maybe.
Oh yeah.
But
a real prayer.
A real prayer works.
Now there's fasting and praying prayer too. Remember, the demon wouldn't come out. They said for the disciples.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, this one only comes out with prayer and fasting and prayer."
Yeah, I know. I think we still need to learn a lot about that.
I don't think we know. I'm so intrigued with prayer.
Yeah.
I'm so intrigued with this that I will tell you this. I believe He honors any act of humility. And when you get on your knees physically, like in a recovery program with Alcoholics Anonymous, they will say, every day you should be getting on your knees, the beginning of the day, the end of the day, thanking your higher power for everything. And I'll tell you something. I call it satellite positioning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what goes on, but I will tell you, when I get on my knees, it'll be a better night's sleep and something. He honors it. When we honor Him, I don't get it. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's an act of contrition, act of humility to get on your knees. I think it's very powerful. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying everybody else has to do that either.
No.
Just like there are some people that know Jesus and they really know Him and they may never go to a church. I personally think we should go to church. I had a friend of mine recently. He's a perfect human being in this town. He's in the real estate business. He and his wife, perfect children. He doesn't go to church. I don't get that much out of it. I said, well, listen. I said, it's not what you're getting out of it. You might sit next to some lady who lost her entire family this week in a car accident. You're there to give. It's community. And also it gives God the opportunity. I know you've had people speak into your life. Do you ever run into something, you're going through a situation, and all of a sudden someone will say something that's the perfect, they call it a word in season. And they'll say something to you. And they're inadvertent. I think God speaks through people. They'll say things, they don't even know why they're saying it. I'm sure you've had that happen.
I'm sure I have too, but I can't pinpoint one right now.
That's all right.
Yeah.
What's another story that you like?
Okay, I got tons of stories.
I love stories.
All right, you want an action story?
Action.
Okay,
baby.
so here I am driving along the highway in Canada, snow. You can't see the road ahead of you. You can't. There's no. It's a paved 2-lane highway, and all of a sudden, it's late at night, like around 9:30, and I see lights in the distance, and I'm going, uh-oh. And they're coming closer and closer, and they're not moving over. They're heading straight for my car. So I thought, I think he's
I read this in your book. Keep them talking.
And all of a sudden, my steering wheel was jammed really
Out of your hands.
out of
Yep.
my hand to the right, and then quickly back. If the car flew by, it would have hit me.
And you went back the next day.
And it put right back on the road again. I went back the next day to check, and there was a big ditch, a deep ditch, like a 10-foot.
So if the hands of the angels hadn't spun you quickly to the other side,
I
you would have
been
gone
in the
down in that ditch.
Yeah. So that I was right back on the road again.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and it was over in a flash.
I know it's hard for some people to accept these things, but I know of a story where the people they were coming home from praising Jesus at church on like a Wednesday night or something, and they a truck went through a red light and went right through them, and they were not hurt. There was nothing.
Wow.
And no one will believe it. There's also this lady, I saw this on the 700 Club. She had 2 little children. She's not married. I don't know what happened. He died, whatever, it doesn't, divorce, whatever. And it's Thanksgiving. She says, we're at the park next door, at this apartment complex. And she has 2 hot dogs and no money. This is all I have for my children. So anyway, they walk back on Thanksgiving. And a little old lady who lives there comes out her door and says, "Hey, I've been thinking about you." You know the story?
I do. You told that in the Bible study, one of the first times I was at it.
No.
In the late fall. I don't know if it was November or
Really?
December. You told that story.
And so,
And that's when I said, maybe one day I can meet this guy and
Yeah.
give him my book.
wow. Yeah. I
Because he
appreciate-
likes angels.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I love this stuff. So she says, "I've been thinking about you. Come to my house tonight for dinner. I'm going to make you and your children." So they go to the door, and she invites them in. It's warm and cozy, and there's Thanksgiving dinner. And she even had a little gift for each of the children. And so later that night, they say goodnight, and they hug and say, "So nice meeting you, and thank you." And the mother and the children go upstairs to their apartment. Anyway, she gets up the next day, goes down, says, "I'm going to thank this lady again." She knocks on the door. And she knocks on the door. She knocks, and the manager comes around and said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, I want to talk to the lady that lives there." He says, "That's been unoccupied for 6 months. Nobody lives there." He opens up the door, and you look in, not a speck of furniture, nothing.
Oh, yeah. That's really.
Now, most would say, even me, come on. You know what? We have no idea. "Eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither has entered the heart of man, the things which God has prepared for those who love him." We have no idea. Even the Bible says, "Let any man who thinks he knows anything understand he's begun to know nothing." So anybody haughty or puffed up, or you think you know better? You don't. It says, anyone who thinks they know anything, understand you've begun to know nothing. Humble thyself in the sight of the Lord.
Right. And listen. A lot of people don't like listening. They like to talk, you know. Sometimes you have something really good to say and you can't get a word in it.
Well, I hope that's not the case here.
Oh, no, I'm not referring to you.
I know. No, but I have a proclivity for loquaciousness, to say the least.
Yeah.
But my name's Rhett. You know what Rhett means?
No.
Rhetoric.
Oh,
I make my
rhetorical.
living with my mouth.
Okay.
And the Lord called me to this position. And it means encourager in the Welsh.
Very good.
So,
Yeah.
the gift of something to do with the tongue here.
Well, Winifred means peace.
And you
Spread.
you exude a peace.
Peace. Yeah, I think I do too.
Yeah,
I'm calm
yeah.
most of the time.
So, do we have that other call? Is that other guy going to call back or no? Okay. So what
Then-
should we do? Continue our interview or what? So,
Okay. There was the time that my mom was going back to Canada,
yeah.
and we were at the Fort Lauderdale airport.
Mm-hmm.
She had boarded the plane already, and the plane was out on the tarmac, and I'm standing there in front of those big windows. This is back in the 80s, and looking out, and all of a sudden there's this 12-foot angel standing out there in his uniform, and his uniform consisted of who's dressed like an old Greek warrior
Mm.
with the leather skirt, with the separations in the skirt, and the big high wraparounds around his sandals that go up to his knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had his lapel, his crossings on his chest, and his what do you call those things on your shoulders?
Yeah.
The army
Oh.
with all the ranks and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, there he is. Looking, you've got to be kidding. And so and all the trucks were moving around him, and he's watching planes load. He's 12 feet high. So I thought, oh, Mom's plane is moving. So I ran. It took quite a while to get to the end. So when I did, I turned and looked at the planes that were out lining up to take off, and there was one standing there that had a 12-foot angel on top of the plane, right in front of the wings, behind the wings, behind the wing at the back, the tail wing. And I says, oh, she'll be all right. So I called her later that night, and I said, how was your flight? She said, oh, it was just wonderful. I said, I know. She said, you'll never believe it, but the flight attendant said, have a wonderful trip, everyone, because God is with us.
That's great.
And we've never heard anything like that.
Yeah. God is with us. Maybe she saw it too,
Yeah.
Well, as I said, eye hath not seen nor ear hath heard, and neither has entered the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love him.
Yeah.
Yes, we serve an awesome God. I met that Rich Mullins who wrote that. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and might. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. And you're a singer, too.
Uh-huh.
You're actually a finely trained singer.
Yeah.
Like a... Oh.
Yeah, I was a high soprano. I've done...
Like opera and stuff?
Yeah, I've done... Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, why are you not singing for the Lord right now?
Because I lost my voice during COVID.
You have it back now, I hope?
I'm working on it. I'm back in a choir now here in Vero.
Oh.
But I'm not a high soprano. I'm an alto. But I am getting my voice back. But they
So
need
alto
altos.
is lower?
Oh, it's much lower, yeah.
But also you're getting a little older, too. And women's voices tend to get down a little bit, just
Yeah.
like a man's voice does,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I've sung a lot of songs, but I never was a professional because I wanted to stay home with my family. I had to choose between having a child and a family and going on the road, and I didn't want to go on the road.
I think you should have a podcast about angels.
Yeah. I've been told that.
To have a podcast?
Yeah, but I don't know how to do it. I'm not technical.
Well, you can do it right here.
Really?
Yeah, that's what we do. We lease the studio. We have fellas that come every Tuesday night, and they do a show. They visit prisons.
Yeah.
And they're ministers. And so they talk about their ministry into the prisons.
I'd love that.
Then we have another two ladies that have a show called Seeds of Hope.
Yeah.
Penny and Dell, and they have a show they do here once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a bunch of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
All right, we will, because I would love that.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things, and we've just hardly touched them, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you. Again, the title of the book is Angels, comma, of course. And I still don't know why the comma's in there.
Angels. It could be exclamation mark instead of a comma. Does that make it clear?
Angels, of course.
Of course. Angels. Of course.
It's an odd name for a book.
Angels.
But it's okay. But and it has some of your paintings in there.
Yeah. had to learn how to paint.
Do you have a website or anything?
Not anymore. I did, but I needed to groom it, and I don't know how to do that. I'm not technical.
Groom it?
Yeah, you have to keep going on it.
Oh, I see what you're
and
saying.
checking
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
taking things off, putting more things on.
And I don't know if websites the way to go anymore. It's more YouTube now. And now they say the young people are leaving YouTube and they're going to something else.
Really?
Yeah, like, is it Parachute or something? I don't know what it is.
Never even heard of that. Yeah.
Periscope.
My
And now
son.
they've left that and they're going on to something else there, too. I don't know. So anyway, I want to thank you very much for coming in today. If people want to contact you through an email, what's your email address?
Win Tuck1 at AOL.com.
Okay, Win Tuck, T-U-C-K. Are there any are capitalized?
No,
Just
all
Win Tuck,
lowercase.
W-I-N-T-U-C-K.
Number 1.
No,
just the
not
one.
O-N-E, just the one. Okay, Win Tuck with a 1.
At AOL.com.
Oh, that's easy, AOL.com. Win Tuck1 at AOL.com. Thanks for coming on. God bless you.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Come back soon.
I will. I love
All right.
it.